Okay, so we're going to start off on finding the range of functions. We're so used to finding domain by solving for x, but since the range has to deal with being the y values of the function, we're really not used to solving for y. So with that respect, I recommend that you graph the function to see all the y values being used as the range. So one of the things to note is that you want to know the format of each function. For instance, y equals 3x plus 2. Anytime x is to the first power, you have a linear function. So keep in mind from algebra 1, y equals mx plus b. Your y-intercept, or b, is equal to 2, and the slope, which is the rise over run, is 3, and then make sure it's in fraction form so you know rise over run, 3 over 1. So I'm going to start off by plotting this point at 2, the y-intercept. From there, I'm going to go up 3 over 1, make my next point. 2 points should be enough to make a line, but if you want more, from 2, you could also go down 3 to the left 1. And from there, you can graph your line, which mine won't be straight. um, From here, you're looking at the y values being used. So if you look at the y-axis from negative infinity to positive infinity, look at this part of the line. Where is it going downwards to? It's going down to negative infinity. It goes on and on downwards. And as I go up the y-axis, all these y values are being used, and it's going to go all the way up to positive infinity. So with the range, you could write it in set notation, which is y such that y, always starting off that way because range is the y, is an element of all real numbers. And then for interval notation, you can write the y value as negative infinity to infinity. Make sure it's in parentheses because you actually don't know what infinity is, so that means it could go up to infinity but not actually include that value. So for the next one, again, it's very important to just know the format you're dealing with. In this case, g of x equals x squared minus 1. Anytime you have x to the second power as your highest degree, you're going to be dealing with a parabola. Since x squared is positive, this is a parabola going upwards with a y-intercept of negative 1. So that means I'm going to go down 1 from the parent graph, which is usually at 0, 0. So I'm going to go down 1 and make my parabola going upwards. Now this is a rough sketch, so it's not exact values here for my parabola, just kind of giving myself the graph so I can find the range. So again, I'm going to look at the y values being used. Always start from the lowest value on y. So notice that down here, the y values are not being used for my range. For my y values, they start at negative 1 and they go all the way up towards infinity because that arrow goes upwards. So for set notation, for the range, it's going to be negative 1 to infinity. Again, I don't know the exact value of infinity, I put it in parentheses, but negative 1 is being included in the graph, which means I put it in brackets. And if I want to write it in set notation, again, start off y such that y, and the values here are negative 1 and greater. So y such that y is greater than or equal to negative 1. I hope this helps.